Y muchas gracias por unirse a esta última sesión del año. Este webinar sobre los múltiples beneficios de la eficiencia energética se basa en una publicación que en el 2014 tuvo la Agencia Internacional de Energía, denominada con el mismo nombre, Múltiples beneficios de la eficiencia energética, donde la agencia resaltó la importancia de la eficiencia energética y visualizó que la eficiencia energética tenía más beneficios más allá de lo tradicional, como el ahorro de la energía, ahorros económicos y la reducción de gases de efecto invernadero. Desde entonces, la AIE ha trabajado en generar e identificar estos cobeneficios y ponerlos a disponibilidad de los gobiernos nacionales y subnacionales, así como a profesionales y académicos que trabajan en el sector de la eficiencia energética. Este webinar es organizado por la Agencia Internacional de Energía con el valioso apoyo de la Secretaría de Energía en México. Mi nombre es Ana Lepure, consultora de la agencia en México, y tendré el gusto de moderar la sesión. El día de hoy me acompañan Julie Camel y David Morgado, ambos analistas de energía en el programa de eficiencia energética en economías emergentes de la agencia y quienes estarán a cargo de la presentación. El webinar será impartido en idioma inglés, pero como les comenté, pueden enviar sus preguntas y comentarios en español. Muy bien. La agenda del día de hoy, tenemos la introducción, unas palabras de bienvenida por Santiago Cregueras, el director general de Eficiencia y Sustentabilidad Energética en la SENER, una introducción sobre cuáles son los múltiples beneficios de la eficiencia energética. Tendremos una amplia sección con ejemplos de dichos beneficios. Se tocará también el tema del uso de la digitalización para evaluar la eficiencia energética y finalmente se darán unos mensajes claves. Al final tendremos tiempo para preguntas y respuestas. Nos gustaría mucho escucharlos e incluirlos de una forma más activa en la sesión, así que por favor hagan preguntas y compartan sus comentarios y así podremos discutirlos al final del webinar en la sección de preguntas y respuestas. Antes de iniciar el webinar, nos gustaría comentar algunos aspectos de la configuración. La diapositiva que ven muestra un ejemplo de la interfaz de la plataforma. Deberían estar viendo algo similar. Por default, ustedes se han unido al webinar de hoy escuchando por los altavoces de su computadora. Si desea llamar utilizando el teléfono, localice su panel de audio en la pantalla y seleccione Usar teléfono. Enseguida se mostrará la información de acceso telefónico y el código de acceso. El número y el código se indican en esta diapositiva. También tiene la posibilidad de hacer preguntas usando el panel de preguntas. Simplemente ingrese su pregunta en inglés o español y haga clic en enviar. Al final de la presentación vamos a dar tiempo para discutir y contestar las preguntas que se hayan realizado. Tome en cuenta que estaremos grabando el webinar y lo subiremos a nuestro canal de YouTube para aquellos que se han perdido la sesión de hoy o por si desea compartirlo con colegas o le gustaría verlo de nuevo. Para aquellos que usualmente asisten a nuestros webinars, el día de hoy nuevamente tendremos un par de quizzes que permiten mayor interacción entre los presentadores y todos los que están atendiendo el webinar. Haremos preguntas rápidas durante el webinar para que podamos obtener sus opiniones sobre ciertos aspectos de la presentación y la información presentada. Se les otorgará alrededor de 20 segundos para contestar. Se les pedirá que seleccionen una respuesta entre varias opciones. Los resultados serán inmediatos y podemos discutirlos brevemente y compartirlos durante la presentación. Bueno, sin más, tendremos unas breves palabras de bienvenida por parte del maestro Santiago Cregueras, director general de Eficiencia y Sustentabilidad Energética de la SENER. Adelante, Santiago.
Muy bien, muchas gracias, Ana. Muy buenos días. Espero que me escuchen. En nombre de la Secretaría de Energía, me da mucho gusto darles la más cordial bienvenida a este webinar sobre los múltiples beneficios de la eficiencia energética. Creo que este tema ha sido un parteaguas en materia de eficiencia energética, ya que la Agencia Internacional de Energía decidió hacer esta publicación hace poco más de 3 años y nos ha permitido a todos darnos cuenta que el implementar acciones de eficiencia energética tiene beneficios aún más allá de lo que significa el ahorro de energía. Quiero agradecer a la Agencia Internacional de Energía por todo el apoyo que nos ha dado a lo largo de esta administración. Como ustedes saben, estos webinars fue una iniciativa que propuso México y que inició aquí en México. Ha resultado ser una de las prácticas más innovadoras en materia de capacitación y desarrollo de habilidades en el sector energético. y bueno, nos ha permitido tener una interacción muy importante con personas aquí en nuestro país y con el resto del mundo. Este webinar es el número 19 a la fecha y el último de este año. Tiene por objeto difundir los hallazgos actualizados que la agencia ha encontrado recientemente de análisis de los múltiples beneficios de la eficiencia energética, así como mostrar cómo los responsables políticos y otras partes interesadas pueden utilizar las herramientas existentes para medir y maximizar los beneficios que buscan. Las 5 áreas que se investigan en profundidad son desarrollo macroeconómico, presupuestos públicos, salud y bienestar, productividad industrial y provisión de energía, mostrando retornos convincentes cuando se calcula el valor de múltiples beneficios junto con los beneficios tradicionales de la demanda de energía y las reducciones de emisiones de gases de efecto invernadero. Antes de iniciar, quiero compartirles que a la fecha hemos realizado 18 webinars con un acumulado de casi 3,000 personas. En este momento ya se encuentran conectados más de 200 personas, con lo cual hemos llegado a más de 3,200 durante todo este proceso. Es un número récord y nos da un enorme gusto. Además, en cuestión de género, les informo que casi el 35%, es decir, más de la tercera parte, han sido mujeres, lo cual nos alegra mucho, ya que la participación de las mujeres en el sector energético es algo que hemos estado impulsando en la Secretaría de Energía durante esta administración. Agradezco nuevamente a la agencia, a Fati Virol, a Brian Motherway, a David Morgado, a Ana Lepur y a Julie en esta ocasión. Y finalmente, les informo que la semana pasada, el Senado de la República ratificó el ingreso de México a la Agencia Internacional de Energía, lo cual nos abre nuevas oportunidades de cooperación multilateral para poder modernizar y fortalecer nuestro sector energético. Esto es un gran logro de México. Con esto, México se convierte ya en el miembro número 30 y en el primero de América Latina. Estamos seguros que vendrán años de intenso y productivo trabajo en muchos ámbitos del sector, fortaleciendo las relaciones entre la Secretaría de Energía y la agencia y todavía mucho más. En particular, seguiremos promoviendo los múltiples beneficios de la eficiencia energética. Una vez más, agradezco a Ana, a Julie, a David en esta mañana. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and the opportunity to hear from you this morning or this afternoon in Paris or wherever you are. And thank you also for organizing this webinar. En este momento, le cedo la palabra a Ana Lepur para continuar con la orden del día que se ha establecido. Muchas gracias a todos por su asistencia y que disfruten de esta mañana.
Muchas gracias, Santiago, por tus palabras. La verdad, muchas cosas que celebrar en este fin de año, pero muchas gracias por todo el apoyo para organizar estos webinars, a ti y a todo tu equipo de la Dirección de Eficiencia Energética. Es un gran placer para nosotros estar aquí con ustedes. Bueno, ahora paso la palabra a mi colega David Morgado para iniciar la sesión del día de hoy. David and Julie, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Ana and Santiago. It's a real pleasure to be here with you and presenting a very important topic that's on top of the IEA's agenda and ensuring that energy efficiency is a top priority for governments in order to help them meet their energy and climate goals. I'd also like to thank Santiago and the Ministry of Energy for all their support in organizing these webinars so far, and it's a real pleasure that formally Mexico is now formally part of the International Energy Agency. So we're delighted with that, and we're looking forward to further collaboration on energy efficiency and other energy topics with Mexico. So without further ado, I'll pass on to my colleague Julie, who will kick off our presentation.
Thank you very much, David. I'd like to start talking a little bit about the perceptions of energy efficiency. The understanding of what energy efficiency means has changed over time and in different countries. When we first started 30 years ago, we used the term energy conservation, or doing the same with less, and this was often due to a lack of energy supply. This is certainly how energy efficiency and demand-side management programs started in many countries. But as people grew wealthier in many countries, the concept of saving or thrift became unpopular. So we started talking more about energy efficiency or doing more with the same. As we have moved on, it seems that even this term has become rather negative, and some countries think we're talking about restricting or constraining growth. This is certainly not the case, and many countries need to use more energy to raise standards of living. And so the IEA has been promoting the concept of energy efficient prosperity, which is about doing even more with more. The traditional focus on energy savings as the main goal of energy efficiency policy has, at times, led to an underestimation of the full value of energy efficiency in both national and global economies. Energy efficiency can bring multiple benefits, such as enhancing the sustainability of the energy system, supporting strategic objectives for economic and social development, promoting environmental goals, and of course, increasing prosperity. In 2014, the IEA launched the Capturing the Multiple Benefits of Energy Efficiency publication, which you can see on this slide and is available for free on the IEA website. The aim of the publication was twofold: to build knowledge of the multiple benefits of energy efficiency, and also to demonstrate how policymakers and other stakeholders can use existing tools to measure and maximise the benefits they seek. In this publication, the 5 key benefit areas, macroeconomic development, public budgets, health and well-being, industrial productivity, and energy delivery, are investigated in depth, and they show compelling returns when the value of multiple benefits is calculated alongside traditional benefits of energy demand and greenhouse gas emission reductions. By identifying and quantifying a broader range of positive impacts of energy efficiency, the multiple benefits approach repositions energy efficiency as a mainstream tool for economic and social development, which of course motivates a higher uptake of energy efficiency opportunities in the market. As part of this publication, we developed this flower that you can see on the screen here. This flower is to try and illustrate the broad range of potential multiple benefits of energy efficiency and to showcase that energy efficiency can be a means to support sustainable economic and social development. Most of the benefits that are highlighted in the flower are relevant to all countries, although of course prioritization by individual countries is likely to vary. Overall, experts increasingly acknowledge the important role of energy efficiency in generating a broad range of outcomes that support the ambition to improve wealth and welfare, so goals that the public as well as policymakers both understand and aspire to achieve. So in the next couple of slides, we will showcase several of the positive impacts of energy efficiency. The main reason for looking at the multiple benefits is to expand the perspective of energy efficiency beyond the traditional measures of reducing energy demand and lowering greenhouse gas emissions. So in the next slide, we will launch a poll to get your views on what is the most important benefit of energy efficiency for you and your organisation. And we have 5 options. A, macroeconomic development and productivity. B, public budgets. C, health and well-being. D, environmental sustainability, and E, consumer savings. Just wait one moment, we'll launch the poll. All right, so we've got most people have voted already on the poll, and we can see that this is strongly skewed in favour of environmental sustainability with 41% of the vote, followed by macroeconomic development and productivity, 28% of the vote, and just after that, consumer savings. So that's really interesting to see what's actually driving the push for energy efficiency for you and for your organisation. So thank you for that. We've got one more poll coming up later in the webinar as well. It'll be interesting to gauge your thoughts after you've seen some of the slides from today. Okay, so this is where we start going through our slides on what the specific benefits of energy efficiency are by the different sectors. So firstly, without energy efficiency, primary energy demand would have grown significantly more. In the IEA's Energy Efficiency 2017 report, which is available for free download on our website, we looked at the combined primary energy savings resulting from efficiency improvements in IEA member countries and the major emerging economies. So this was analysed per fuel type since 2000, and this is shown in the graph on the slide. So the total amount of primary energy saved in 2016 as a result of end-use efficiency gains when compared to 2000 was 30 exajoules in IEA member countries and 23 exajoules in the major emerging economies. Exajoules. To put this in context, 24 exajoules is equivalent to the total final energy consumption of India in 2016. And of these savings, around 40% came from reduced inputs to power generation. We can see here that the growing prominence of coal savings in the overall total is very much a reflection of improvements in energy efficiency within Chinese industry, where coal is used directly for process heating as well as electricity generation. Coal savings started to become apparent after 2006, which coincided with the introduction of the 11th five-year plan in China from 2006 to 2010, which for the first time established targets and measures for improving energy efficiency. So overall, the additional coal demand avoided in 2016 because of improvements in energy efficiency since 2000 is equivalent to the current total coal demand of the United States. Oil and gas savings due to efficiency improvements in transport, heating and industry are the other prominent sources of primary energy savings for this period. These savings reflect the growing importance of gas in power generation. Global oil savings, due almost entirely to efficiency improvements in passenger transport, were equivalent to 3.6 million barrels of oil per day, which is the total daily oil consumption of Japan. In the next slide, we'll have a look at the breakdown by fuel and the country group in more detail. So the IEA has also examined the final and primary energy that has been avoided because of improvements in energy efficiency in both IEA member countries and the major emerging economies, specifically China, India, Indonesia, Mexico, Brazil, and Russia. Firstly, we'll have a look at the IEA member countries, where we can see that the natural gas and electricity represent the two largest saving categories due to efficiency improvements in the efficiency of electrical appliances, as well as water and space heating, as well as industrial processes. We can then translate these electricity savings into primary energy savings based on the average IEA fuel mix. And it is here that we can see the continued prevalence of coal in the generation mix. Combining all savings, we can now see that natural gas accounts for around 1/3 of all avoided primary energy as a result of improvements in energy efficiency since 2000 for IEA member countries. However, the story is different when we start to look at the major emerging economies. In terms of final energy savings, because of the large use of coal within Chinese industry and the substantial improvements in efficiency that we've seen in China because of the top 1,000 and subsequently the top 10,000 industrial energy efficiency programs, coal is the largest source of final energy savings. Now, when you translate the electricity savings into avoided primary energy, we again see the high contribution of coal to the generation mix. Electricity savings are again representative of improvements in the efficiency of electrical appliances, but again, improvements in the energy efficiency of Chinese industry. An example that is provided in the IEA's Energy Efficiency 2017 report is the Chinese primary aluminium manufacturing industry, where the installation of new production capacity with energy sourced from coal-fired electricity generation has resulted in significant efficiency improvements, avoiding the use of additional electricity and coal. So combining all of these savings together, we see that in the major emerging economies, coal represents half of the avoided primary energy resulting from improvements in energy efficiency since 2000. As a final point for this slide, we see that the avoided consumption of electricity has been an important outcome from improvements in energy efficiency. In fact, without the electricity savings since 2000, global electricity use would have been 14% higher in 2016. And the IEA estimates that satisfying this demand would require over 1,000 gigawatts of additional power plant capacity at an investment cost of US dollars 1.9 trillion. Energy efficiency can also help countries improve their energy security by reducing imports. So for IEA countries, lower demand for primary energy also decreases the volume of energy imports needed. So this graph on the screen now shows the avoided imports from efficiency gains in the EU, Japan, Korea, and the US in 2015 by fuel type. So for example, in the EU, energy efficiency led to a reduction in energy imports of US $27 billion in 2015, which is 10% of the total spending on energy imports, and almost $19 billion US dollars in Japan, which equates to about 15% of total spending on energy imports. Avoided imports in the US were low because of the large share of domestic production of coal, oil, and gas. So in this slide, we want to show how improved efficiency has also enhanced long-term energy security by reducing the sensitivity of annual European gas demand to fluctuations in the weather. So the line in dark blue is the actual gas consumption. The lighter blue line indicates the consumption that would have occurred in the absence of any efficiency, structure, or any other economic effect. For example, the spike in demand in the European winter of 2010 to 2011, which was caused by exceptionally cold weather, required an additional 8.2 billion cubic meters of gas in Germany and 3.8 billion cubic meters in the UK. However, this was more than offset by the reduction in demand as a result of energy efficiency improvements over the previous decade, amounting to 9.7 billion cubic meters in Germany and 11.7 in the UK. Energy efficiency improvements did not eliminate the peak, but it did lessen its severity. Without these efficiency improvements, the additional gas demand from the cold winter would have raised German gas imports by just under 12% and imports to the UK by more than 24% in that year. So within the context of energy security, I want to also highlight the role of energy efficiency and energy conservation measures in helping replace nuclear power generation as a result of the shutdown following the Great East earthquake in Japan in 2011. So firstly, let's take a look at the energy savings measures that were implemented after the earthquake. In 2011, there were strong conservation measures placed on electricity users across the region affected, including power outages, limits on large electricity users, and a requirement for companies to cut electricity use by 15% between July and September, which are the warmer months in Japan. In 2012, consumers were required to save electricity in accordance with targets during summer and winter to reduce the impact of demand peaks. After 2013, the stringency of the measures was gradually eased. The requirement to achieve energy savings was maintained, but they were not governed by mandatory targets. The government also amended the Act on the rational use of energy, allowing for the adoption of peak demand shift, which incentivised the large electricity users to shift demand at peak times. In 2016, the energy saving measures came to an end. So what was the impact of these measures on replacing nuclear generation capacity, and how do they compare to the other responses implemented? So here we can see the replacement from alternative power generation capacity. Of note was the contribution of oil-fired electricity generation, which was significant early, but has since fallen away. Gas, which remains prominent, and renewable energy, which grows over time. But what about the contribution from energy demand savings? So we can now see that demand savings provided nearly 40% of the nuclear power generation capacity, substituted for 40% of the nuclear power generation capacity, which is the single greatest contribution. What is also of note is that the magnitude of the demand savings increased over time as the stringency of the energy saving measures was reduced. So therefore, the conservation measures alone can't fully explain the continuing fall in electricity demand. The nuclear shutdown significantly raised awareness of energy efficiency measures. For example, it appears that air conditioning thermostats, which were required to be set at higher temperatures as part of the initial conservation measures, have not subsequently returned to pre-earthquake levels, which illustrates a change in end user behaviour. Similarly, while the initial conservation measures did hamper economic activity and output, after 2012, activity and energy use in the industry and service sectors decoupled as the stringency of conservation measures was reduced. So this trend appears to be driven more by energy efficiency than conservation measures, as more activity was achieved for less energy use. Policies that have driven these improvements include the mandatory energy efficiency benchmarking policy, which was introduced in 2010, and this required large firms to set energy efficiency targets by sector and introduced an obligation to improve energy efficiency by 1% per year. The response to the Great East Japan earthquake illustrates the remaining potential for energy efficiency improvements, even in countries with low energy intensity. Before the disaster, Japan was considered to have one of the more energy efficient economies in the world, with an energy intensity in 2010 that was 21% lower than the global average and 9% lower than the average for IEA member countries. Yet Japan was still able to identify short-term conservation and efficiency measures, which resulted in a durable energy savings through behaviour change and targeted policy measures. I think it's also important to note that energy efficiency does not only help countries that are energy importers, but can also help those that are energy exporters with their international trade balances. Energy efficiency can also be used to benefit the fossil fuel exporters, such as Saudi Arabia and Mexico, as both countries have a large share of their electricity generation coming from oil and natural gas. In Saudi Arabia, domestic energy consumption is rapidly increasing its share of energy production, and this is reducing the amount of oil available for export, as you can see from the graph here, moving from about 20% to just above 30% in 2013. So the government has recently started to recognise that it has another massive potential fuel reserve, energy efficiency, and it's increasingly looking to efficiency to improve export revenues through reducing domestic consumption. For example, Saudi Arabia is planning to improve its efficiency standards on air conditioners by 35% by 2020. So as a country with a hot climate that is highly dependent on air conditioning, with a large share of electricity generation from oil, energy efficiency standards on air conditioners would save an estimated 47 million barrels of oil and hypothetically could increase export revenues for Saudi Arabia by $2.4 billion US. But of course, it's not just about the energy savings and avoided imports. So in this slide, with the graph on the right, we show that the global energy savings from efficiency improvements since 2000 led to a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions of just over 4 billion tonnes of CO2 equivalent in 2016. Without these efficiency improvements, emissions in 2016 would have been 12.5% higher, as shown by the graph on the left. Of these emission savings, 45% came from IEA member countries, while the major emerging economies accounted for 47%. The avoidance of fuel combustion that results from efficiency improvements also reduces local air pollutants, which benefits air quality and public health. With regards to the major emerging economies, China is making an important contribution to emission reductions over the past 5 years. So the question you might be asking yourself now is how much of a contribution is energy efficiency making compared to other factors? Well, there are three key factors that drive global emission trends. Sorry, just having a slight technical issue with the slide here. Here we go. So the first is GDP growth. Since 2014, global GDP growth has averaged just over 3%. So this puts upward pressure on global emissions. However, there are two broad factors that have offset this growth. The first of these factors are the changes in the global fuel mix, particularly the move away from coal towards renewable energy and other cleaner fuels. However, the biggest factor offsetting the effect of economic growth and keeping emissions flat has been reductions in energy intensity, which reflect a reduction in the amount of primary energy required for the world to produce a unit of GDP. An important benefit of improvements in global energy intensity is that it has limited energy demand growth, particularly in China, where energy demand grew by just over 1% in 2016. So low demand growth means that lower emission fuels are able to make greater inroads into the overall energy mix. So moving on now to the other wider multiple benefits, an alternative way of viewing global energy intensity improvements is that they deliver an energy productivity bonus, because the world is able to produce more GDP for each unit of energy demand. So this is measured basically as the difference between actual GDP and the notional level of GDP that would have been generated had energy intensity stayed at the previous year's levels. So in 2016, this amounted to $2.2 trillion, which is equivalent to twice the size of the Australian economy. The energy productivity bonus in China was larger than that of any other country at just over $1.1 trillion. In the United States, it amounted to just over $500 billion. So combined, the two countries accounted for over 3/4 of the total world bonus. So the previous slide showed the national level benefits, whereas this slide shows the specific savings being made by individual households. So if we look at how much less energy consumers are now using because of efficiency gains made since 2000, we can quantify the savings that this represents for consumers. So looking here at how much consumers spend on energy for their homes and cars, we can see that household energy expenditure in Germany would have been nearly $600 per person, or 30% higher in 2016. Without efficiency, German households would have spent nearly $50 billion more in 2016. In Mexico, efficiency improvements made since 2000 in the residential sector reduced Mexican consumers' annual home and travel energy costs by 10%, which is equivalent to $60 per capita. So we're now seeing that efficiency is a global energy story, with its impact flowing to all parts of the economy. So I'm now going to pass back to my colleague, David Morgado, to take you through some of the many more multiple benefits of energy efficiency.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for a very interesting presentation. My next slide now is on energy efficiency in Mexico, and looking at the multiple benefits. We really love to highlight the Mexico case study showing how energy efficiency is helping reduce electricity subsidies as well as household electricity expenditure. In 2016, electricity subsidies in Mexico accounted around for $8.5 billion, representing almost 1% of GDP in Mexico, and equivalent to about $75 per capita. So that's about 1,450 Mexican pesos per capita in electricity subsidies. This case study here is about how Mexico is undergoing a market transformation from an analog to a digital signal for television broadcast in approximately 12.6 million households. In this bar here on the left, you'll see that in orange, you'll have the federal government expenditure in subsidies. In blue, the energy consumption of the decoder, and in green, the energy consumption of the television as it is at the moment. And so the existing less efficient analog televisions, which are mostly cathode ray tube televisions, would need a new digital setup top box, so decoder, to continue to work with the new digital signal. And as you can see, this would represent a significant cost to the government and to households. However, to address this situation, the Mexican government decided that instead of subsidizing digital decoders and adding a new source of energy demand, because each decoder uses about 18 kilowatt hours annually, it actually will be giving away 14 million new LED televisions, which are more efficient, to these low-income households. The LED televisions are on average 60% more efficient than standard analog television models. So therefore, immediately there's a saving. The Mexican government projects that 1.76 billion Mexican pesos spent on new LED televisions would be recovered through avoided electricity consumption worth 1.6 billion Mexican pesos. And the federal government would save in energy subsidies about 3.7 billion Mexican pesos. So it's quite significant. In the next slide, I'm showing you how energy efficiency is also triggering companies to innovate and come up with more efficient technologies and appliances and establish new markets. Over the past decades, LED lighting has caused the lighting market to leapfrog policies with a rapid product adoption rate and increasing energy savings. As you can see from this graph, the prices for LEDs have been dropping steadily in both US and India. So these are two countries where we have data over the last 5 years. And you can see that because of this price decrease, there's also subsequently has led to an increase in their uptake. This has, according to IEA and our estimations, this has resulted in annual global energy savings of more than 146 terawatt hours in 2016. So that's equivalent to the electricity generation of Argentina in 2015. So it's quite significant. While these savings are significant, they still represent less than 1% of the additional 1,600 terawatt of energy savings in the building sector that could be achieved from lighting energy consumption in buildings with the full adoption of LED bulbs. Basically, this indicates there's still a considerable potential to tap into. This is a new graph that's just come out from the US. It looks at average household refrigerator energy use, volume and price over time in the United States since 1972 till 2016. And as appliance manufacturers move to higher efficiency products, it does not necessarily mean higher purchase costs for consumers. So you can see here that the prices for refrigerators have actually gone down from 1972 till 2016. The average energy use for refrigerators as standards have been introduced, as you can see here with the arrows, has led to a decrease, in most cases, a significant decrease in energy use. And on the other hand, then we've seen that actually people are getting more efficient refrigerators, but actually the size of these refrigerators are increasing. If we compare how much this has changed since 1972 till 2016, a typical new refrigerator uses just 25%. I repeat that again, 25%, as much electricity as one sold in the 1970s. Yet, as you saw here from this blue line, new refrigerators are larger and have more features, such as automatic defrost or ice making. Refrigerators sold today are also cheaper in real dollar terms. An average refrigerator in 2016 cost half as much as in the mid-1970s. A series of improved efficiency standards, first at state level and then after at 1987 at national level, have drove this tremendous efficiency improvement. In this slide, I want to show an example from the European Union looking at multiple benefits of one of their energy efficiency policies for appliances. In the European Union, there are mandatory minimum energy performance standards, meaning that selected appliances that consume above a certain threshold cannot be sold in the market. In Mexico, you have these as well, which you call norms, or normas oficiales mexicanas. In addition, in Europe, there's an energy label, as you can see here, to help consumers in their decision making. And you can see that A++, triple plus is the most efficient and D is the least efficient. The European Union have done an exercise to try to quantify these benefits to justify the gradual strengthening of this energy efficiency program over time, and here are some examples. So you can see here the benefits to consumers. So they've tried to estimate how much electric oven that is A+ can save a consumer per year, 230 euros, so that's about 5,100 Mexican pesos compared to a D-class electric oven. You can look also the overall savings they estimate for a consumer per year. There's also been benefits to producers and retailers, so they've tried to quantify how much extra revenue per year has been derived of creating this new market of high efficient appliances. It's also helped protect the European Union from low quality and low cost products that were coming into the market. And they've noticed that the program has been successfully implemented in Europe, and of course, many other countries in the region or neighboring countries are also looking at adopting these regulations. There's also been an impact on energy security in terms of reducing the fossil fuel imports in about 65 million barrels of oil per year, and so on. There's also, of course, benefits to the environment in terms of how much tons of oil equivalent have been reduced, and that amount there that you see is equivalent to the total primary energy supply of Italy, or about 60 million households, so it's quite significant. So they've been trying to get these metrics, these numbers, and these equivalents to really give a meaning to the program and gather further support. They've also tried to do this visually, and it's something that we haven't seen that much so far in terms of strategies of communicating the multiple benefits. They're just normally the numbers. Sometimes there's a value of equivalence, but these are ways where they can show the benefits to consumers in a very easy visual format. In addition to the numbers that I presented in the previous slide, this one also highlights that the program has enabled a creation of further jobs estimated at around 800,000 jobs in the European Union. In this slide, you can see the photos from a Nova Scotia, that's in Canada, street lighting demonstration project where 1,100 LED luminaires were installed. They illustrate the potential benefits of more efficient and better lighting levels through the installation of LED lighting. So you can see here the photo on the left is high pressure sodium, and here on the right is higher efficient LEDs. Unfortunately, there's still not enough studies looking into the multiple benefits of efficient street lighting and an impact on pedestrians, drivers, and businesses. In Brazil, through the installation of LED street lighting, the feedback has been that people feel safer, particularly in areas where the street and public lighting was already very poor. In India, a survey indicated that people feel safer. There's a possible reduction in number of accidents. But more interestingly, as there are many street vendors on the streets, the improved street lighting has actually increased their businesses. But there's definitely more. There's definitely a need to have more studies looking into street lighting and the multiple benefits of energy efficiency. In India, they have a domestic lighting replacement program called UJALA. An Energy Efficiency Services Limited, ESL, is a publicly owned energy services company which has the mission of delivering energy efficiency across India. It was first established in 2010 and is under the administrative control of the Ministry of Power. The ESL's Unnata Jyoti by Affordable LEDs for All, that's UJALA, which means light in Hindi, is the world's largest lighting replacement program. By 2019, UJALA aims to replace 770 million old wasteful lamps with modern, efficient, and longer-lasting LED lamps without the need for any government subsidies. To date, ESL have distributed more than 276 million LEDs, as you can see from this dashboard on the right. And this dashboard is updated on a daily basis. And if you just type in UJALA dashboard, you can see and you can compare and the different states in India and how they're doing and how much they're installing in terms of LED bulbs. The LED bulbs in India through this program only cost 15 Mexican pesos each. And through the program, the consumers can buy them for initial payment of just 3 Mexican pesos, and then the balance is paid through the consumer's electricity bills in an equal monthly installment of 3 Mexican pesos. This groundbreaking enterprise, together with strong government support, has completely transformed the energy efficiency market in India within just a couple of years, stimulating the economy, generating new jobs and businesses, benefiting public budgets, and providing considerable benefits to households throughout the country. The IEA and ESL have looked at these benefits in more detail, as I will show you in my next slide. This is the document I'll be showing you in the next slide here. So we prepared this short brochure highlighting the multiple benefits of this project, which is now available for free in the link below. So I can just mention some of the multiple benefits that are mentioned in this brochure. So basically, energy efficient LED bulbs through these programs, because it's mass procurement, they're able to reduce the cost of the LED bulbs. Through the distribution process, they're able to hire a great number of people, as you can see there. They're helping families save money because they're saving on costs by installing energy efficient lighting. It also, when you compare it, how much the investment they had to do for the project and how much kilowatt energy is being saved, and compare it with how much it would cost to generate electricity from a coal power plant, then there's evident benefits there. It's just a difference of 50%. In terms of reducing air pollution and helping also the utilities manage a very growing energy demand in the country. In this example from South Africa, to show how energy efficiency has also helped improve comfort levels. A couple of years ago, the Nguwana family sat around the kitchen table of their Cape Town home and set themselves a target. Over the next 6 months, they would try to cut their electricity use by 40% by retrofitting their home and making some small but important changes to their daily habits. Even though the family knew there was a lot they could do, they weren't sure where to start. So they teamed up with the Green Building Council of South Africa to make a range of low cost, and invest to save improvements, and also set goals to reduce their water use and waste. By the end of their project, they had managed to reduce their electricity use by more than half. They were left with a house that ran more efficiently and was more comfortable at a far lower cost to them and the environment. It's very interesting to see that this family story has been shared widely in South Africa, and they have a dedicated website which you can access through this link here. And the aim is to giving other households the information they need to make similar changes. This slide is probably one of our favorite multiple benefits examples, and it's a documented case study from New Zealand showing the importance of accounting for the multiple benefits of energy efficiency. The program was called Warm Up New Zealand, and it's similar in a way to the Mexico insulation program that you had, the Fideicomiso para el Programa para Aislamiento Térmico. So what was the challenge? The challenge in New Zealand was, as you can see from the photo on the right, that there were 600,000 under-insulated homes. There's cold climate and rising dampness. It's mostly timber housing stock. It's old buildings that are in some cases overcrowded. And there's a significant case of rheumatic fever in New Zealand. There's also, of course, an aging population. And there was an excess of winter hospitalization, particularly because there's no building code before 1978, and there was no insulation standard. So a lot of these buildings weren't properly insulated. So what was the solution? The New Zealand government decided to establish a home insulation program worth 350 million New Zealand dollars, and to target around 190,000 low-income households and general income homes, which commenced in 2009. They actually went much higher than that. They actually achieved 241,000 homes. And the aim was to save energy, deliver health benefits, and stimulate the economy. Part of the funding for homeowners and landlords who owned homes built before 2000 was for insulation retrofits, so floor or ceiling, heater retrofits, so primarily heat pumps, also pellet burners, efficient wood burners, and gas boilers. And then they also had other retrofits that might be to do with the pipes, drought proofing, moisture barriers, and so on. In terms of reduction, if it had just been based on energy savings, then the program would probably have not gone ahead. There was only 1% reduction in average annual household electricity under this program. But when accounting for the multiple benefits, the net benefit of the program was around 12.6 billion Mexican pesos, and the benefit cost ratio was estimated at around 69 Mexican pesos to 1. It saved on average about 71 Mexican pesos per household per month for total hospitalization. In addition, the program also helped create a new business market for retrofitting with new jobs and revenues, as you can see there. More importantly, the program managed to secure funding from the Ministry of Health, which has a much larger budget than the equivalent Ministry of Energy in New Zealand. So this is very powerful, again, an example to show why it's important to account for the multiple benefits so that you garner further support for your energy efficiency programs. The last example we have here, and although energy access is no longer a major issue in Mexico, as more than 99% of the population is electrified, it's still an important issue across the world, as there's more than 1.1 billion people that don't have access to electricity. Energy efficiency is seen as an enabler of energy access by lowering the costs and size of the off-grid generation capacity that's required. There's a company like Bbox are offering off-grid renewable energy solutions with combined with high-efficient appliances such as LED lighting, high-efficient TVs and radios, and so on. It comes with a 50-watt rooftop-mounted solar panel and can be purchased over a 3-year period. As we're talking mostly about remote areas, the whole solar home system can be monitored remotely for maintenance, to check how it's being used, to map the users, and to quickly disable units when the customer misses their monthly payment. Based on this information, we're now keen on launching another poll, which is very similar to the previous one, but this time we want to ask you, what do you think is the most important benefit of energy efficiency for your target audience, stakeholders, clients, and customers? I'm just going to launch the poll at the moment so you can see the question. As you can see, it's very similar answers. I'm just going to repeat the question again because it's different from the first one. What do you think is the most important benefit of energy efficiency for your target audience, stakeholders, clients, and customers, particularly after you've seen this presentation and we've provide some evidence on different multiple benefits. So again, we have first one, macroeconomic development and productivity, public budgets as the second one. Third is health and well-being, then environmental sustainability, and then the fifth option, consumer savings. So I'll give you just a couple of seconds to answer. Okay, so I think in terms of the answers we have so far, I noticed some people are still voting, but it's turned a bit slightly in terms. So in terms of your clients, audience, stakeholders, and customers, the preference is definitely for consumer savings. So that means probably there's not so much an interest in, or less of an interest in, environmental sustainability. And so that's an important consideration when you're looking at messaging and thinking about your target audience. So if you're thinking, okay, the thing that's most important is actually CO2 savings, but actually what people will relate to mostly is cost savings, how much they can save. So that's a very important thing to consider. So I'm just going to show the results. Just give me a second. So I've closed, and you should be able to see the latest results. You can see 33% to consumer savings, followed then by environmental sustainability, and then macroeconomic development and productivity. Before we go to the Q&A, I just wanted to highlight something that we feel is important and is partially linked to multiple benefits, and it's the use of digitalization to help us improve energy efficiency policy evaluation. And then, of course, from that, help us determine multiple benefits. And this is particularly important because multiple benefit evaluation is still very much in its infancy. In this slide, we show some examples of using digital approaches to collect mainly data on appliance operation that could be used for so much more if one is creative. So the first one is online registration database, and this is mainly used for appliances, and it's a process by which the manufacturer and importers of equipment and appliances register their products prior to coming into the market with a regulatory authority in that country. Typically, these requires the submission of technical documentation to demonstrate product compliance. In India, the manufacturers also need to provide information on sales of their products on an annual basis. So this makes it much easier through this process to collect information, analyze, and evaluate the actual energy savings, cost savings, and CO2 emission reduction based on what are the products that are coming into the market and their sales. The quick response codes, so these are the codes that are here at the bottom of this label, which is the Chinese energy label. The QR code is a barcode type matrix label able to efficiently store data that can be read by a range of optical reading machines, including your smartphone. China at the moment is at the forefront of using these new technologies for managing their standards of labeling because it's such a big country and there's millions and millions of products in their market and entering every day. So why have they chosen to use a QR code? Well, more than half the population in China uses smartphone apps. And the QR code is not patented, so it's low cost and easy to use in existing energy label for appliances. And the benefit is that it can be used for a range of applications. It can help guide consumers to make better informed decisions. It can support local compliance authorities, so reducing the compliance costs and simplifying the data collection because they just need to scan that barcode and immediately connect them to this database that we mentioned first. It helps in the monitoring and evaluation of the effectiveness of the program, so you really understand whether most of these products are complying with your standards and labeling program. Okay, so the other one is web crawling. Sorry, just listening. So web crawling is basically a process, or web crawling or web scraping is the use of a software that systematically browses websites, so to identify and gather specific available data as specified by the software usage. So you can use to collect any type of data on energy efficiency. For example, it can be used to gather energy performance data on appliances available on manufacturers' websites. And that allows you to understand the market much better. There's also smartphones that you can use to interact with consumers to gather their views and data on energy efficiency measures, get their feedback on comfort levels after a building retrofit or installation of a new appliance. And then finally, there's smart meters that record energy use at frequent intervals and send this information to utilities for billing purposes. This information could potentially be used to generate data on device level, energy use, and patterns. So there's a number of utilities that are using these to collect data that can then be used to evaluate programs, the effectiveness, and also understand user behavior. There's also a number of other methodologies. Increasingly, there's a number of connected devices that are being used, and through this connectivity, you can again, as with smart meters, try to understand better consumer behavior and usage. Okay, so we're coming now to the end of our key messages. So in terms of, as we mentioned in the beginning, energy efficiency is very much now about doing more with more. It's very important to use the multiple benefits approach because we want to highlight benefits beyond energy and greenhouse gas emission savings. It's very important to emphasize and assess the multiple benefits, as these can help secure funding and support from other ministries, such as the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Environment. Outside of those of us working on the energy sector, not many people are interested in saving energy as such, but they're interested in having the same or greater and energy services for the same or reduced cost. When raising support or finance for promoting energy efficiency in the residential sector, talking about overall energy savings might not attract the attention of your departments of finance, health, or social services. Talking instead about the benefits of energy efficiency for saving the consumer money, as we saw through the poll that you just all answered, which could be spent elsewhere. So this is the consumer money that could be spent elsewhere in the economy for improving the health and comfort of citizens in their homes and reducing the need for investment in additional generation and distribution infrastructure if your network is already pretty stretched. It's likely also to attract more attention and support from other departments if you look at these aspects, especially those which are responsible for government finance and budgets. Being able to quantify the benefits of energy efficiency in these terms can be very useful in attracting support and financing. Of course, there's a number of challenges, as we have been mentioning through the presentation. There's limited evidence and evaluation looking at the multiple benefits of energy efficiency, particularly in emerging economies, including Mexico. There's lack of international methodologies for evaluation of certain multiple benefits, and that's something that the international community and many other countries should work on. And then, of course, just to finalize, if you have any examples of looking at the multiple benefits of energy efficiency, please do share them with us. We're trying to collect as much as possible to continue to build on the publication that was done in 2014. So without further ado, I will pass on to Anna so that we can do some of the Q&A. I think we have probably about, we're running, I think, a couple of minutes late, but as we started a bit later, I think we have about 10 minutes for questions. So Anna, back to you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Julie. We already have some questions here, so we will go through there. The first one is, can all these benefits be quantified?
So Anna, so if these benefits can be quantified, as we've shown through the presentation, it is possible to quantify and measure these benefits. It's not easy. The challenge with the multiple benefits is that many of the impacts are unfamiliar to the energy specialists, traditionally responsible for assessing energy efficiency impacts, and may be less evident and therefore more difficult to quantify using the traditional methods. Where the barrier is simply lack of relevant data, this can be solved by directing more attention to planning data collection and maybe starting to use some of the methodologies that we mentioned on digitalization. There are some methods that do exist to capture less evident impacts, There's new methods that are being developed. There's use of reference numbers, other approximation methods, because these are much better and preferable to assuming a value of 0 for observed benefits.
Okay, thank you. I have another question here. It's a question related with these same topics. What examples are there of methodologies used to quantify the multiple benefits?
Thanks very much, Anna. So I guess studies to date have provided some compelling quantitative results about the value of energy efficiency policies in particular circumstances, such as those that we've talked about in the UJALA case and the New Zealand health study cases that we've shown. The scale of benefits delivered varies significantly depending a lot on the nature and the scale of the policy, the economic and social context in which it's applied, as well as the data that's actually available and the methods that are used to evaluate the impacts. Now, at the moment, the IEA is actually working to try and facilitate the sharing of best practices between countries when it comes to implementing energy efficiency measures to maximise multiple benefits, and also in the evaluation of energy efficiency against these multiple benefits. So we're doing this through something called the IEA's Efficiency Exchange Platform. Some of you may have already heard about this, but it's basically the update to the Energy Efficiency Policies and Measures database, or the PAMS database, that's been around for quite a few years. So the freely accessible online platform will actually host and provide visualizations on energy efficiency data globally, as well as host examples of how countries have evaluated energy efficiency policies against the multiple benefits. So the platform is still under development, but it is very close to being publicly released. So please keep an eye on the IEA Energy Efficiency website for more information in the coming weeks. And of course, just to reiterate what David said earlier, if you do have any examples of evaluation against the multiple benefits that you think that we should know about, please do get in touch with us. And this doesn't just have to be national level policies. This can be sub-level at the municipal level government strategies. We're really just interested in finding out how people have evaluated energy efficiency programs against the multiple benefits and what types of methodologies they've used.
Thank you, Anna. I think you've seen one of the questions I think you want to answer. Is that correct, Anna?
Well, no, I want to ask you another. But first, let me ask to the people. Por favor, si gustan, pueden enviar preguntas, no importa si están en español o inglés, nosotros las podemos contestar. Meanwhile, we have another, David. Is the European Union labeling mandatory to enter in the markets, I guess the products?
So I think I confirmed that in text, so it is mandatory. There's another question, Anna, maybe I can answer, which is somebody's asking about the impact of LED street lighting in terms of the impact in terms of lighting on the ground. And there, as I mentioned, there's very little details on these. Of course, there's good results. Other places where the results have been more complicated. There's a famous avenue in India, in Mumbai, where the LED street lighting was installed, and it was using cool white when people were used to sort of more yellow color, and so the people were a bit upset that this famous avenue near the coast was having this different type of light. So they basically had to change that LED lighting to a yellow color. But there's a number of guidelines internationally, international standards on how these systems need to be installed, and it's not just a simple case of replacing the existing lights with LEDs. Sometimes you need to space them even further. They've got different, let's say, directional characteristics. So all these things need to be taken into account to ensure that the LED street lighting, the level that's on the ground, on the roads, is not too strong, is not more than it's required.
Okay, I'm afraid we are running out of time. I don't know if you have if you see another question, David, over there.
Okay, no, think we probably some of them will take a while to answer. I think as we mentioned, I think one question is related. We had mentioned that if it's an exporting country, as we showed with Saudi Arabia, then in those cases the multiple benefit will be on showing how energy efficiency can support the export of fossil fuels. In terms of what methodology you can use, it shouldn't be too complicated, but if you have a look at the report that we mentioned on capturing the multiple benefits, there's a number of references that might be useful, and we'd be glad to help if you are looking at doing a study on this as well. In the energy efficiency market report, we also look typically at energy security, and you might find some of the methodology that we use there relevant. I think we'll pass on to you, back to you, Anna. Again, I'm sorry we couldn't answer all the questions. There was a lot of them coming just through, but we'd be glad to continue the discussion, and you can email Anna if there's anything that you'd like to discuss, or if there's anything that you'd like to help. And particularly if you do have case studies, please do share with us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julie, thank you, David, for this interesting presentation. Les agradecemos a todos su atención y participación en el webinar de hoy. La presentación estará disponible a finales de esta semana en el canal de YouTube de la agencia. Les enviaremos a sus correos el enlace, así como la presentación del día de hoy, así que siéntanse en la libertad de compartirlo con sus colegas. Para nosotros ha sido un placer llevar a cabo este webinar que esperamos lo haya encontrado útil y relevante. También agradecemos a SENER nuevamente por todo su apoyo y la ayuda para organizar estos webinars. Seguiremos organizando otros webinars de eficiencia energética. El siguiente ya tenemos la fecha, es el próximo 24 de enero y abordaremos el tema de digitalización y energía, que David abordó un poco al final de la presentación. Los mantendremos informados y no duden en ponerse en contacto con nosotros si tienen alguna pregunta. Aprovecho este espacio para, en nombre de la Agencia Internacional de Energía, desearles felices fiestas y un excelente año nuevo. Con ello, les agradecemos nuevamente su asistencia y nos veremos en la siguiente sesión de la serie de webinars entre la Agencia Internacional de Energía y la Secretaría de Energía en México. Bonito día a todos.